besties! Welcome to the newscast station of XLO.
Today we will be talking about a bunch of different animals, Harry Potter, and the Big Bang. So let's get to it.
First we have Alyssa. Today Alyssa will be talking about Samoyeds. Samoyeds is a type of dog from northwestern Siberia and from Central Asia. Take it away, Alyssa.
Are you interested in dog? If you are, then I will tell you about a dog breed called a Samoyed. Samoyeds are very friendly and amazing dogs. They are beautiful dogs. You should definitely get one. They are also very interesting. The Samoyed is often described as white and biscuit, cream, or all biscuit colored fur. Biscuit is a very light tan. They also have dark brown eyes usually. Samoyeds have two thick layers of their coat. The hairs on the outer layer is long hair. The Samoyeds' outer hair is slightly oily so dirt doesn't stick to their fur. Dogs have something called withers. Withers are the top of an animal's shoulders. Samoyeds are medium-sized dogs. Male Samoyeds weigh 45 to 65 pounds, and female Samoyeds usually weigh 35 to 50 pounds. And a female Samoyed 19 to 21 inches tall. A male Samoyed is 21 to 23.5 inches tall. Samoyeds also have thick, fluffy tails that are curved when they are alerted. In addition, in the Samoyeds' history, Samoyeds are named after Samoyed people. The Samoyed came from northwestern Siberia from Central Asia. One of these dogs was presented to Queen Alexandra. The first Samoyeds originally came from England. The breed's good looks soon won the public's attention in America. Its popularity has grown a lot since the Second World War. Also, these dogs lived as a part of the family in the hide tents of their people. One of their jobs was to keep the children warm in bed, and they helped hunt animals like bears and towed boats and sledges. They also herded reindeer and guarded them against fierce predators. Samoyeds are also very protective dogs. Last but not least, here are some fun facts and stuff about their lifespan. Samoyeds have hairs between their toes to help them walk on ice. Samoyeds are very friendly dogs, and they are also loyal to their humans. The Samoyed hears a lot better than the human does. The hairs on the Samoyed are very thick and fluffy, and when Samoyeds sleep, they put their thick tail over their nose so they stay warm. Samoyeds also have a herding instinct because they have to be brushed 2 or 3 times a week because of their thick fur. Also, Samoyeds like to play a lot with people. They are also gentle, playful, and friendly dogs. They are good companions with people at any age. When Samoyeds are bored, they bark and dig. They also listen to their owners too. A Samoyed can live up to 15 years or longer with good care, but some of them only live 10 to 12 years long. Dogs are usually full grown at 2 years old. So that's some fun facts and some things about their lifespan. So that's all about the Samoyed. So I hope that you learned a lot about it. You should get a Samoyed because they are cute, amazing, and very interesting. What do you think about the Samoyed?
Oh my god, Alyssa, that was a lot of information that I did not know about Samoyeds. Next in line we have Ella, who will be telling us about pugs. Did you know that pugs have really curly tails? Tell us more, Ella.
Do you know what a dog is? I hope so. But there are different breeds of dogs, like golden retrievers, or Great Danes, or Chihuahuas, or even Australian Shepherds. The type of dog I'm going to talk about is known as a pug. Pugs are something some people call toy dogs, and toy dogs are something some people call small and or tiny dogs. First up, appearance. A pug can be 3 colors: black, a silverish color, and an apricot. I'm going to guess you held a bowling ball. Well, pugs are around the weight of one, unless it's too fat. Then it would be more than that. But that's 16 pounds. I'm assuming you've seen a basketball because pugs are no taller than one. They're around a foot tall. Also, pugs have really scrunchy faces. I honestly think it's just because of the wrinkles, but pugs are mostly known for their curly short tails. Some of you may not know how to care for a dog, but I am very sorry if you do. But then again, all pugs love going on walks with their families or friends. But you cannot, and I mean not, take them out when it is too hot or they might burn. And again, pugs don't need much exercise. Pugs also love naps. Most pugs can even sleep up to 14 hours a day. Then, like all dogs, pugs need to get shots from the vet every year to prevent from getting sick or getting any diseases. Pugs are like any dog when it comes to food. Pugs will eat any food you put in front of them, including any types of dog food. But make sure not to switch their food or they might get an upset stomach. But unlike cats, if you put food in front of a dog, they will eat it all. So make sure not to give them more than 1 cup of the food you give them, unless you want a fat dog. Hopefully you learned some things about pugs. There is so much more that you can learn about pugs, like what human food you can feed them or what types of animals they are good with. Pugs are great companions and fantastic friends. Maybe even one day you can adopt or buy, whichever you prefer, a little furry friend that you can call your own.
Okay, thanks, me. But anyway, next up is Jeremy, and he will be doing koalas. One fun fact about koalas is that they eat 1 to 3 pounds of leaves a day. They must be fat, so let's do this.
G'day, mate. What do you think about koalas? You probably think that they're cute and cuddly, but crikey, those things will tear you apart. Come on, I will tell you more about this animal. The diet of a koala is pretty simple. They only eat the eucalyptus leaves of the trees that they live in. A fun fact about koalas is that they only eat 35 types of leaves. They also don't drink a lot of water because all their water comes from the leaves that they eat. Koalas eat to 1 to 3 pounds of leaves every single day. They like to nibble at the top of the leaves because it has the most nutrients. Now, let's move on to their habitat. You might think koalas only live in Australia, but you're wrong. They also live in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania. They spend their time crawling in a eucalyptus tree. They spend their whole lives in that tree. If they move, it's almost always at night. Their strong arms help them climb their habitat, and koala's sharp claws help them dig into the wood on the big eucalyptus tree. Well, I think we are done here. Let's move on to their appearance. Have you ever seen a koala? Well, right now I'm going to describe to you what they look like. Koalas are so soft. Their fur is gray on their backs, face, legs, and on the top of their arms. White fur is on the bottom of their arms and on their stomachs. They have round little eyes and round large noses. Their ears are very fluffy, probably the most fluffy part of their body. They're about 20 pounds and are 23 to 33 inches tall. They live to be about 20 years old in the wild. Well, those are a lot of facts. Turns out koalas are pretty nice. Today you learned about what they eat, where they live, and what they look like. Did you know that koalas are not bears? They're marsupials. I hope you learned a lot. Would you want a koala?
That was so cool, Jeremy. Next we have Michael. He will be telling us all about ferrets. He says that ferrets have a secret dance called the wiggle dance. That's so funny. I hope you learn new things from him.
Ferrets are great pets, and today I'm going to teach you all about them. They love to play, eat, sleep, and go zoom. They also love walks. Make sure to walk them if they trust you enough. You don't want it to be lonely. Ferret food is important. Don't give it other food like dog or cat food. When you get a ferret, never give it dog or cat food. Those pieces are bigger and your ferret could choke on the food. If your ferret is in contact with dogs or cats, make sure to take it to get vaccinations daily, as for it can get something that can kill it. Ferrets can live indoors or outdoors. If it lives outdoors, make sure it has a cage that is secure enough so it can't climb out. Also, make sure the ground is covered in something not hard or uncomfortable for your ferret. Just make sure it is something that the ferret can't dig under to escape the cage. Make sure the top is also good enough to keep it in use. A latch or something near that to keep the ferret from escaping into the wild. Ferrets love to play, especially when there are two. Ferrets have the secret dance called the wiggle dance. They usually do it with their mouths open. They love to be taken out for walks too. They love bells and balls, so try getting kitten toys for your ferrets to sum up everything that we have gone through and what we have learned about. They have a secret dance called wiggle dance. They love walks, and when I say love, I mean love walks. They also can't eat dog or cat food, otherwise they could choke on it, and ferrets get very playful. Some could be lazy depending on how old they are, as well as how much you take them out. The more you take them out, the less energetic they are. Do you want a ferret? You can get them at your local pet store or make an appointment to get one at a pet store.
Thanks, Michael, for all that information on ferrets. Next, we have Ava, who is doing Australian Shepherds. A fun fact about Australian Shepherds is that they don't actually come from Australia. Tell us more about it, Ava.
Have you ever had an Australian Shepherd? They're the 18th most popular breed in the USA. They have so much energy and they love people. If you're getting one to be a guard dog, think again. The short form for Australian Shepherd is Aussie. We'll be using that for the rest of the time. First, I'll be telling you about Aussies' appearances and their breed information. For the appearance, the weight is 30 to 65 pounds, and the weight for an Aussie is usually around 18 to 23 inches. Their eye colors are beautiful: blue, brown, amber, or one blue and amber or brown eye. The color codes for Aussies are usually black, red, blue merle, and red merle. Also, in the early days, many ranchers docked their tails dogs. Now, 1-5 Aussies are born with a natural bobbed tail. Next, the breed information. You might not think it, but Aussies are originally from the border of France and Spain, though the modern kind is from the US. Aussie's lifespan is for 13 to 15 years. That's a lot. You're probably thinking, if Australian Shepherds aren't from Australia, then why are they called Australian Shepherds? This is because Basque Shepherds brought their best dogs with them to Australia to help them herd. When the Basque Shepherds brought their dogs back to the USA, the Basque Shepherds bred them with Border Collies, so that led to the creation of the Australian Shepherd. You learn something new every day. Next, I'll tell you how helpful dogs Aussies are, all about the jobs they do and the exercise they need. Aussies work so many different jobs, some of them being stock dogs, search and rescue dogs, service dogs, sheep herders, and of course, people pleasers. They do so many jobs and help so many people, but during all the jobs they do, they need their exercise. If Aussies don't live on a farm or ranch, they need a lot of exercise. This exercise must be long and intense or else they'll get bored. And don't worry, Aussies are athletes and can run all day. Also, Aussies love agility and obedience training. You're probably wondering what kind of exercise they need. The ramps and tunnels and dog parks should do the job. You can also teach them how to climb the side of walls and jump to trees. There's a dog named Ninja that I've seen on the internet, and his owner taught him how to do those things. That's pretty cool. And that's all for jobs and exercises. Lastly, I'll tell you all about Aussies in the family and puppy advice. Aussies are funny dogs. They'll nip at children's ankles because the herding instinct in them is so strong, but the owners need to teach them that children are people and not sheep. Like I said at the beginning, Aussies aren't the best guard dogs. They love people. You also need to help Aussies thrive. They don't like being alone and love being with people. They'll thrive if they can spend most of their day with their humans. Also, you always need to be ready to play. Playtime helps Aussies burn up extra energy. It keeps their minds active too. And make sure to be assertive and give commands so they know what job to do all the time. And last but not least, the puppy advice. Aussie puppies are cute and cuddly, but buying one should never be done without serious thought. It requires some homework. They also require love, great patience, food, exercise, and a warm, safe place to live. A dog can be your best friend, but you need to be its best friend too. That was all the information I gathered about Australian Shepherds. A few fun facts about them is that 1, Native Americans found them to be sacred, and 2, Aussies are serious shedders. And one more is that they gained popularity from rodeos. Anyways, I hope you learned something new. Would you get an Australian Shepherd?
Wow, Ava, that was great. I did not know that about Australian Shepherds. You learn a new thing every day. Next is Olivia. She will be telling us about Harry Potter. One amazing fun fact about Harry Potter is that when J.K. Rowling came up with Harry Potter, she didn't have a pen or paper. Isn't that crazy? Take it away, Olivia.
How many times have you looked for a new book and never found one? It's very interesting. Harry Potter is the best book to read. Harry Potter was made by J.K. Rowling and has been made into 7 movies. J.K. Rowling has won 21 awards for making Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a very famous book, and there are 7 of them to keep you busy. I promise it won't bore you. In all the books and movies, you would probably guess that Harry Potter's in all of them. But they also include his best friends, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, Neville Longbottom, and Luna Lovegood. To get you to know the characters, here are some fun facts for 3 of them. Harry's the son of 2 famous witches and wizards, Lily and James Potter. Hermione has no one magical in her family, but still got invited to the wizarding world. And lastly, Ron lives with 5 brothers and 1 sister, which there are 2 twins, Fred and George, who are hilarious. In the movies, Harry is played by Daniel Radcliffe, Hermione is played by Emma Watson, Ron is played by Rupert Grint, Luna is played by Ivana Lynch, and Neville is played by Matthew Lewis. So now you know all about the main characters. Here are the professors. Professor Sprout teaches herbology, Professor Snape teaches potions, Professor McGonagall teaches transformation, and Professor Dumbledore is the headmaster, sort of like a principal. When J.K. Rowling created the Harry Potter series, she wanted 7 different subjects at Hogwarts, which is the school. One of the subjects is herbology. In herbology, students learn how to treat illnesses with plants. Divination is another subject. In divination, students learn how to look into the future and the unknown. In divination, they'll also use crystal balls, cards, and tea leaves. The last subject is potions. In potions, students learn different types of potions, like the Bowl Cure potion, and learn the correct way to brew a potion. There are lots of classes in Harry Potter, so if you read or watch them, make sure to look out for all 7 classes. J.K. Rowling created an excellent book series, but when did she come up with it? Well, J.K. Rowling moved in with her boyfriend and was traveling back to her parents when it hit her. She just started to think about a boy, and later on the ride, she came up with everyone else, even Hogwarts. The only problem was that she had no paper or pen on the ride. So when she got to her parents' house, she wrote everything down. And that's how Harry Potter started. There are movies and books, so if you enjoy reading the books, watching them is your next priority. Make sure to look out for the characters in all the classes, too. So when you're done with your book, Harry Potter is the next book you should pick up.
That was some amazing info, Olivia. Last but not least, we have Bennett. For our last person, Bennett will be teaching us about the Big Bang. One thing about the Big Bang is that the universe is expanding like a cookie. Take it away, Bennett.
Have you ever wondered how the world began? Have you ever looked up to the sky and wondered how we were standing on Earth? Well, in this passage, you will learn how the world began. The world began with a Big Bang. When the Big Bang exploded, the universe began to expand rapidly. Did you know that the universe took a fraction of a second to make the entire universe? That's really fast. Discoveries of the Big Bang weren't till the 1900s. The first theory wasn't published until 1920. Some of you might be wondering what the Big Bang is. The Big Bang was actually made up of energy. Our galaxy is made up from matter from the Big Bang. Fun fact, the Big Bang's bang is actually part of the reason the universe is still expanding. The brightest, biggest thing in our universe was the Big Bang. For the first 1,000 years, atoms could not be made because they would burn up. The Big Bang was so bright that it could probably blind you instantly. Think about the universe like a cookie in the oven. As you cook the cookie, it expands. The universe is like that cookie, it's expanding. This is all because of the Big Bang. When the Big Bang caused the universe to expand. The universe is still expanding because of the force of the Big Bang. Some of you may be wondering if the universe will ever stop expanding. It may or may not stop. They shot telescopes into space to see if the universe is still expanding. So now you will know a little bit more about how the universe began and how it began.
That was great, Bennett, but now we have to go on our lunch break. See you next time, guys, on the station. Newscasts.
XOO. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Oh, is this still rolling?
What?
Welcome to NATW, where you get all the latest and greatest news.
I'm Eva, and that's Lily.
And today you get the greatest news you have ever heard. Eva will be talking about Australia today. Hopefully you won't get run over by a kangaroo, am I right?
Ha ha, that won't happen. Hopefully. You know what, I really can't guarantee anything. If you do get run over by a kangaroo, that's just bad luck.
Well, then that might happen to me. Anyway, on to you, mate.
Do you know what Australia is? I hope so. Well, today you can learn all about it. Australia is a continent on the Earth. Hopefully you know that. If not, it's okay. It is also the smallest of all 7 continents. There are some animals that only live in Australia, but nowhere else in the world. These animals can be very interesting looking, in other words, weird. There is so much more to Australia than we think. First, you'll hear all about the wildlife in Australia. The creatures I will tell you about are kangaroos, koalas, and platypuses. Kangaroos range from the 16-inch rat kangaroo to the 6-foot-tall red kangaroo. Kangaroos eat grass, leaves, and shrubs. Males are called bucks, boomers, or jacks. Females are called doe, flyers, and jills. Babies are called joeys. They live for 8 to 12 years wild, and their predators include humans and dingoes. They live in groups called mobs or troops. Next, you will learn about koalas. Koalas live in colonies or clings. They live for 13 to 18 years wild and 15 or more years captive. They eat a ton of leaves. And I'm not just saying that, they literally do, which include eucalyptus leaves and blue gum tree leaves. Males are called bucks and females are called does. Like kangaroos, babies are called joeys. Their threats include people, dingoes, pythons, and goannas. The last animal is a platypus. Did you know that platypus are mammals but they lay eggs? Well, they do. They eat small fish, worms, snails, shrimp, and crayfish. They live for about 11 years wild, 17 years captive, and are endangered. According to law, you can't hunt these animals. Predators are people, crocodiles, dingoes, foxes, and pythons. They live in groups called paddles. Australia also has a lot of unusual animals. Those include Tasmanian devils, emu, and black swan snakes. Now, would you like to learn all about the economy and government of Australia? I hope so, because that is what this paragraph is about. The Australian economy is 15th largest in the world. They mainly produce agriculture, commodities, minerals, and energy. These products are important to the Australian economy and are a big part of the economic history. The Australian government does have a king or queen, but they don't make the everyday decisions for the country. The monarchy is the leader of the country, and it also means king or queen. The parliament is the law-making body. The country is the largest producer of gems, such as diamonds and opals. Tourism provides a source of money as well. Lastly, you'll learn about the outback. The outback got its name because it is outback of the Great Dividing Range and mountains.
3 deserts are included in the outback. It also includes many small mountain areas. Few people live in the outback because it's dry, rugged land and it's hard to reach. There aren't many people who ever lived in the outback, only when gold was discovered in 1851. There are dry winds in the outback that carve unusual shapes into rocks. One of these is the Ayers Rock that is located in the Northern Territory. It's the largest rock in the world and native people call it Uluru. Hopefully you've learned a lot about Australia. There is so much more you can learn about this continent. You can learn about the Great Barrier Reef, what the Great Barrier Reef is, more about the outback, and more strange creatures that live in Australia. Australia is an incredible place and maybe one day you can travel there. Maybe not, that's okay too.
Wow, I really don't want to be run over by a kangaroo now.
Do you know what Disney is? If not, it's okay, because Lily will be telling us all about it.
It's going to blow your minds.
I'm sure it will. It definitely will. But I've always wanted to see my mind explode.
Me too, but won't you die?
Oh boy. Well, let's let Lily take it away.
Do you like Disney? If you said yes, you'd be one of many. Disney has been around for so many years that your grandpa was probably a kid when it started. Disney has left and will always leave its mark in the world between the parks, history, TV, and things you can buy. The first thing is Walt Disney's early life or childhood. As a child, Walt's father had to work hard to get money for Walt's family. Walt grew up with a mom, a dad, his brother with the name Roy, along with 2 other brothers. He and his family lived in Chicago, Illinois, which was Walt's birthplace. They then moved to Marceline, Missouri a couple years later. Next is the theme parks. Firstly, there's Disneyland. Disneyland was opened on July 17, 1995, opening 5 different themed areas like Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, Frontierland, Adventureland, and Main Street USA. The opening of Disneyland was so huge that one newspaper even called it the greatest show ever seen on TV, or television as people back then called it. Epcot is another big theme park. Epcot opened in October of 1982, opening with 10 sections with a different country in each section. A few of these sections are China, Italy, Japan, Canada, England, and Great America. The next and probably the most important thing is the characters at Disney. I'm talking about Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto. Mickey is a mouse that started Walt's career off. He originally had a different name. Walt's wife didn't like the original name, so the name became Mickey. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't call Mickey, well, Mickey. Mickey is often seen on floats and stages, waving, singing, and dancing. Next is Minnie. Minnie started out as a regular girl mouse. She too can be found singing, dancing, and waving at visitors. Thirdly, there's Donald Duck. Donald Duck is one of Mickey's friends. He is usually on stage dancing and singing small parts of a song. Then there's Pluto, which is Mickey's dog. Pluto is a yellow with big floppy black ears. He has a tongue that is hanging out of his mouth all the time. You can't see Pluto at any of the parks, but you can find him in different rides and 4D shows. If you said you didn't like Disney, I'm sure you like Disney now. What's not to like about Disney? Well, between the movies, characters, the parks, the story, and the rides.
Wow, I never knew there were so many different countries you can visit.
Today, Jaden will be talking about Italy. Can I please have some pasta?
Lily, no.
But I'm starving and I want pasta.
Too bad. I'm starving too.
Fine, on to Jaden.
Have you ever learned the wonders of Italy? Italy is a great country for a vacation. This country is located in southern Europe. Italy is a unique country that people go to every year. It has unique cultures and things you probably never knew. It has facts that people are learning that they probably have not known. Italy is a country that is shaped like a boot. Italy is also a peninsula. Italy borders 4 countries. They are France, Switzerland, Slovenia, and Austria. It is known for the old buildings that Italy has. Italy also has beautiful mountains that are in the north. One mountain is the Alps. Long ago, glaciers were covering northern Italy and started melting. After the glaciers melted, it formed lakes. In the winter, the Alps are cold and snowy. In the summers, they are cool and short. In the Po Valley, winters are cold and snowy. In the summers, it is hot and wet. Italy is warm, sunny year-round. There are lots of holidays and festivals that are celebrated in Italy that are still celebrated today. For example, in Venice, they hold a parade. People wear colorful costumes and masks. They do this when there are 40 days before Easter or Lent. A lot of people hold a carnival. The people who wear the costumes ride on floats. Citizens enjoy food and celebrate many festivals. There are also important holidays that are celebrated in Italy. One example of a holiday is Christmas Day, January 6th. Another holiday is Liberation Day, April 25th, and another is Labor Day, May 1st. There is a lot of food eaten around the world. Foods from different countries are eaten in other countries as well. For example, in the US, we eat Spanish foods. Italy is famous for their food. The food that is popular is pasta. It is thin dough that is boiled in hot water and is topped with meats, cheeses, and different tomato sauces. There are different pastas. One pasta is elbows. This elbow is shaped like elbows. Other popular foods that are eaten a lot are bread, fish, meat, fruit, and vegetables. These foods are eaten a lot of times. Some Italian desserts are cannoli, which is a pastry. Another dessert is gelato. Gelato is Italian ice cream. Yum! Italy is an ancient country. There were so many events that happened in Italy. Hunters called the Etruscans came to Italy about 6,000 years ago. They started to settle into Italy and established the country. Later then, the capital Rome started to get powerful and started to invade other parts of Europe, Middle East, and different parts of Africa. In 49 BC, Julius Caesar became emperor of Italy. In 29 BC, Augustus Caesar, the great-nephew of Julius Caesar, became emperor. Other countries wanted the power that the Roman Empire had. The countries were Spain, Germany, Austria, and France, and all fought for Italy. This led to the downfall of the Roman Empire. The ancient objects that were left behind are now at museums for sightseeing. I hope you have learned a lot about Italy. Italy is a very interesting and is a good vacation spot. It has an interesting history that people could learn. It is good for exploring and finding a new place to go. So the next time you want to go somewhere, I recommend you to go to Italy. It is a perfect place. But before you leave, there are interesting facts that you should know.
Wow, that was the best pasta ever! Now, Lily will be telling us all about Maine. Have you ever been so sunburnt you looked like a lobster? Eva, that's weird and offensive. Sorry, didn't know it actually happened to you. It didn't. Anyway, take it away, Lily.
Do you want to know more about Maine? Maine is part of the New England states. Maine is the 39th largest state in the U.S. It is 30,865 square miles. Maine has many popular tourist attractions. One is Acadia National Park on Mount Desert Island, and you can hike and camp there. Moose Mania is in Greenville, Maine. It's a celebration of moose. If you are in the mood for history, you can go to a museum on Indian Islands to learn about the Native Americans that lived in Maine. It is called the Penobscot Nation Museum. You can also visit Portland Headlight. It is the oldest headlight in Maine. Another place is Rockland, Maine Lobster Festival. Did you know Maine catches more lobster than any other state? Is their lobster good? Maine lobster has large claws. That means there's more meat in them. Maine's cold water makes the lobster have a sweeter taste and firmer meat. Lobster is also called American lobster. Maine lobster are usually 1 to a quarter to 1.5 pounds. In 2012, a 27-pound lobster was caught and released in Maine. It was the biggest lobster ever caught in Maine. Did you know lobster are not red? They're actually a dark blue-green color. Lobsters are red when they're cooked. There are also many campgrounds in Maine, but I will share about one of my favorites. It is located near Old Orchard Beach. The name of the campground is Wild Acres Campground. There are RV sites and tent sites. There are many things to do at Wild Acres. They have a pool, basketball court, mini golf,
and 2 playgrounds. They also have ziplining, hiking, trails, BMX track, and a store. That's why I love Wild Acres. Those are the many reasons you should go to Maine.
Wow, I really want to go to Maine now. Today, Jackson will be talking about World War II and a half. Nope. Lily, you got it wrong. Nope, sorry, messed that up. Hang on. Okay, so let's start over. Today, Jackson will be talking about World War II and 3/4.
Oh my God, it's just World War II.
Okay, sorry. Today, Jackson will be talking about World War II.
That's better.
Have you ever learned about World War II? If not, I'm going to tell you some facts about it. In World War II, everyone was at war with every country unless they had an alliance with them. America won the war, but this is what happened. There were a lot of battles and bombs used in World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad was the biggest war in World War II, and it had 2 million deaths in total. The United States detonated 2 nukes on Japan in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The inventor of the nuke is J. Robert Oppenheimer. He died in 1967. They call him the father of the atomic bomb. Gun used in World War II are the M1 Garand, M1917 info rifle, and Winchester model 1865. There were a bunch of deaths and leaders in World War II. World leaders in World War II are Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Joseph Stalin, and more. The Battle of Attu was the shortest war in World War II. It was only 19 days until it ended. About 40 to 50 million people died in World War II, and 5.8 million Poles died. That's 20% of Poland's pre-war population. Audie Murphy is the most famous soldier because he had the most medals. Antti Rantame had the most kills confirmed with 542 in World War II. More than 500 Major League Baseball players were drafted into war, and 600 National Football League players were also drafted. Lots of civilians were killed during World War II. Lots of planes were used in World War II, like the Ryan PT-22A, Recruit, Vultee, BT-13A, Valiant, and more. The most food that was used in World War II was spaghetti and meatballs. Now you know a lot more about World War II and what happened in it. And those are some facts about it.
Wow, I didn't know so many people died.
Last up, we have Tommy talking about Formula One racing.
But don't go too much from front, otherwise you will go boom boom.
Have you ever heard of Formula One? Well, probably not. It's not very popular in the U.S. So if you're wondering what it is, I'm about to tell you, and I think you might like it. Speed is probably the most important part of Formula One, and it helps with a lot of stuff, such as overtaking. Aerodynamics also goes into speed. It can help with top speed. The average top speed of a 2022 F1 car on the straightaways is about 190 miles an hour to 210 miles an hour. Aerodynamics is also really important as well. It can help with top speed, and the new 2022 cars have simpler DRS, wings, and a better, faster car. The overall shape of the cars helps with aerodynamics and top speed. The cost of one set of F1 tires can buy you a used car. If you're wondering what the tire compounds are, they are C1 white hard compound, the C2, yellow medium compound, C3, the red soft compound, wets, and intermediate tire compounds. The tire compounds are just different types of tires. There are 10 teams and 20 drivers in F1 as of 2022, and the drivers are Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, and George Russell. Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris, Esteban Ocon, and Fernando Alonso. Valtteri Bottas, Guan Yu Zhou, Mick Schumacher, and Kevin Magnussen, Pierre Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda. And finally, there's Nicholas Latifi, Alexander Albon, Sebastian Vettel, and Lance Stroll. And those are all of the drivers. Well, now that I finished telling you what F1 is, back to you.
I never knew you could go so fast. Thanks for watching
NATW. And we know it was the greatest news you have ever heard.
Definitely. I learned so much, my mind is probably going to explode.
Oh no, not this conversation again.
Anyway, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Hi, welcome back to Channel Disasters. First person helping us today is Ben. Ben is doing World War I. It was one of the worst wars in history. And here he is telling us all about it.
Have you ever heard of World War I? It's short for a world war. World War I was not such a long war. It was shorter than the most. Oh, if you're wondering, one of the longest wars was the War of Vietnam. The Vietnam War was 20 years long. Compared to World War I, that's a long time. World War I started off because Archduke Franz Ferdinand was heir to Austro-Hungarian throne. On June 28, 1914, Ferdinand and his wife visited Sarajevo, Bosnia. The couple rode in a car down the city streets. The two were killed and shot dead by Gavrilo Princip. Bosnia and Serbia were near each other. Princip and his helpers had been given weapons by Serbs who wanted to help them. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28th. The Battle of the Marne there was a lot of action. By the end of August, 3 German armies were moving toward Paris. German heavy artillery destroyed Belgium, British, and French units. The Allied forces retreated. The Germans closed in on Paris and many people fled. The U.S. was ready to vote. Voters elected Woodrow Wilson president in 1916 on the campaign slogan, "He kept us out of war." The U.S. was officially neutral. However, the ties between the U.S., France, and Britain were strong. Trade between the United States and the Allies was worth $3.2 billion in 1916. A win for the Central Powers would prove to be a financial disaster for the United States. The United States went into war. Wilson tried to make peace with Germany, but was unsuccessful. The situation was bad. The U.S. went into war ready to fight back Germany. Germany's last time being seen in the war. Over the next 4 months, the Germans had started 5 major attacks at the Allied lines. Ludendorff, the general, sent troops armed with flamethrowers and light machine guns into battle. German bombings paved the way. The end of the war. The Allies stripped Germany of its overseas colonies. The war's winners redrew. Alsace-Lorraine, taken by Germany at the end of the Franco-Prussian War, was given back to the French. I hope this helped you learn a lot about World War I. It was a pretty long war for 4 years, but the U.S. won the war from 1914 to 1918. It was long and harsh. The U.S. military had many men die, but now we honor our veterans on Memorial and Veterans Day.
Thank you, Ben. Hey, let's learn about hurricanes from Sarah. Take it away, Sarah.
Ever heard of a hurricane? I'm going to assume that even if you said yes, you've never heard of the 2 flying turtles of 1935 or the snake problem in 1961. Are you ready to learn about hurricanes? What is a hurricane, you may ask? A hurricane is a huge storm. It's the biggest and most dangerous of all tropical storms. A tropical storm is a type of bad weather. A hurricane can cause floods, snow, rain, hail, tornadoes, huge waves, and even winds so strong it can rip a house to shreds. A tropical storm must have wind speeds up to 74 miles per hour in order to be a hurricane. Another thing to note is how hurricanes are formed. So a hurricane has a lot to go through to succeed in hurricane standards. First, a group of thunderclouds must form. This will cause there to be a center of low pressure. Low pressure areas are created when light, warm air rises up above cold air, making the air unstable. If the winds begin to pick up speed and move in a cyclonic motion, this little storm is called a tropical depression. But guess what? There's more. If the wind speeds are 39 through 73 miles per hour, you have got a tropical storm. A tropical storm turns into a hurricane by reaching wind speeds of 74 miles per hour or more. Some hurricanes are more famous than others, but all hurricanes are named. They are named from an alphabetical list that's made each year. I bet you've heard of some hurricanes, like the really big ones that destroy a whole lot. A hurricane is made famous because of its destruction. Well, there's a lot of famous hurricanes, so here's a few. Possibly the worst hurricane of all time, the Bangladesh hurricane in 1970. Bangladesh is in Asia. The hurricane created 30-foot high waves that crashed down upon the land. All dry land was flooded, rain pounded, and wind howled, making it worse. No one had time to evacuate. Lots of people drowned. The death toll was 300,000 dead. Rice is the main food source in Bangladesh, and 800,000 tons of rice was washed away. In New England, 1938, a big bad hurricane blew all the houses down. The name? Long Island Express. It was given this name because of how fast it flew up the East Coast. The speed was 60 miles per hour, and the wind speed was a shocking 180 miles per hour, but sadly, 600 people didn't survive it. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 formed in Mississippi and traveled to Louisiana. It was the cause of 12 miles of flooding. 1,800 people were killed. In 1961, with a wind speed of 145 miles per hour, Hurricane Carla flooded Texas City, forcing survivors to seek higher ground. But the snakes also sought higher ground. Now, I think you're ready for the true tale of two turtles. In 1935, two land turtles were caught up in a hurricane. For 20 miles, they flew through the air tucked inside their shells. When they finally landed, they were still alive. Scientists were amazed that they survived. Just like the two turtles, weird things happen during hurricanes. One other example is that sometimes hurricanes rip up cemeteries, and survivors say they saw caskets floating down the flooded streets. Now that you know all about hurricanes, you know how dangerous they can be, so watch out.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah. Tsunamis can be dangerous, right? You'll be fine, though, because we have someone to tell you all about them, so you can be prepared. Take it away, Ellie.
Have you ever thought about tsunamis? What is a tsunami? How do you get away from a tsunami? Do you think tsunamis are scary? Well, they are scary. And I know we have not had one over here in New Hampshire. We are not anywhere near the ocean, and we should be really happy we don't have to get away from a tsunami. Tsunamis hit in Asian countries, the Pacific Ocean, and Indonesia. What is a tsunami? A tsunami is a big wave. In fact, the word tsunami is a Japanese word. Really big tsunamis can last up to several days, which is a lot of time. How do you even get up to 4 hours? Don't be alarmed, but tsunamis can kill you if you are not quick enough to get away. When a tsunami is a big wave and you are at the beach when it happens, you will not be able to escape. How tall is the tsunami, you might ask? Well, the tallest tsunami in the world was 1,720 feet tall. When a wave anywhere between 10 to 100 feet tall is a tsunami. The speed at which a tsunami can go is over 500 miles per hour. What causes tsunamis? Well, I will tell you right here. So, a tsunami is made by an enormous force in the water, like when an earthquake happens. Also, there are other causes to cause tsunamis, like landslides, volcano eruptions, and ice falls into the water from a glacier on the coast. How do you get away from a tsunami? There's a big wave coming. Well, that big wave is a tsunami. And you can get away from a tsunami. Move to higher grounds and or to the top to a roof of a building. Be careful. Watch out for animals behaving weirdly because they have a sense that a tsunami is coming before a human can. If you feel a shudder of an earthquake, head inland, a tsunami may come. Listen to official warnings and escape more waves. The next one will be bigger than the last. Abandon all belongings. This is no time to joke around. There is a tsunami coming, and there is no time to collect your belongings because you are more important, and don't count on your car because the roads could be blocked off. I hope this helped you understand how to get away from a tsunami, what is a tsunami, and what causes tsunamis. What do you think about tsunamis now?
Thanks a lot, Ellie. Do you know what World War II is? Well, Ludwig's the man to tell you all about it. Go ahead, Ludwig.
World War II was a very important war in history. But before I tell you all about the war, I would like to share some fun facts about World War II. The war lasted 6 years and 1 day, and World War II began on September 1st, 1939. World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945. The war began when Germany invaded Poland, and Great Britain declared war against Germany on September 3rd, 1939. World War II started because of a man named Adolf Hitler. Hitler wanted to make more living space for Germany. When he became chancellor in 1933, he did terrible things like killing anyone who disobeyed him. Adolf Hitler came to power with the goal of establishing a new racial order in Europe, dominated by the German master race. This goal drove Nazi foreign policy, which aimed to throw off the restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, incorporated territories with ethnic German populations. A Soviet force of 600,000 men, backed by air and naval power, attacked Finland on November 30th, 1939, following a series of ultimatums and failed negotiations. The Soviet Red Army launched an invasion of Finland with 500,000 troops. Through vastly outnumbered and outgunned in what became known as the Winter War. The war ended once hostiles ceased in March 1940 with the signing of Moscow Peace Treaty, in which Finland surrendered 9% of its territory. Soviet losses were heavy and the country's international reputation suffered. On December 7th, 1941, a Japanese force attacked the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Japanese aircraft sank 3 battleships and damaged or sank 21 other vessels. At about 8 a.m., Japanese planes filled the sky over Pearl Harbor. Bombs and bullets hit the boats in Pearl Harbor. At 8:10, a 1,800-pound bomb hit the USS Arizona. The ship exploded and sank with more than 1,000 men trapped inside. I hope you learned something you didn't know about World War II.
Wow, that was awesome, Ludwig. Ever wondered about D-Day? Gavin can tell you all about it. In fact, that's what he's here to do.
Do you know about D-Day? It's one of the most important invasions in World War II. It's what gave the Allies a foothold in Europe to set up an entire invasion to take back Europe from Germany. The Allies had been planning the D-Day invasion for a long time, so the Allies would surely have a very good plan to attack Normandy. The Allies needed to make sure the Germans didn't know where the invasion would be. They did this by making inflatable tanks, mortars, artillery, and other military supplies. Another way they did this was by putting out fake radio transmissions so the German spies would report on the fake attack location. The Allies also made sure the men rushing the beach would have the best chance to succeed. They did this by having paratroopers land behind German defenses to destroy artillery and take control of objectives. They also had bombing runs on the German defensive and battleships firing on the beach to destroy landmines and tank obstacles. To say the least, the Allies had a solid invasion plan. Hitler was very keen on keeping control of Europe, so he had very sturdy defenses to stop an invasion. The beaches that the Allies attacked had obstacles on the beach, such as tank obstacles, landmines, and barbed wire. The defense was set up so that there was a series of trenches that connected to mortar and machine gunner positions that were on top of the beach with the high ground. There were also heavy artillery and gunner positions. In all, there were 85 machine gun nests, 35 pillboxes with machine guns, 35 rocket launchers, 6 mortar pits, and 8 large concrete bunkers. Even with all this great defense equipment and tactics, the defense was not successful. The Battle of D-Day was not a very long battle, but a lot of fighting was done. The Allies began by having heavy bombing runs from planes and Allied destroyers. They also had paratroopers landing behind enemy lines to take control of objectives and destroy artillery. Soon after, the Allies began landing Americans on Omaha Beach. As soon as the Allies landed, there was immediate machine gun barrage from the Germans. Many Americans fell quickly, but many also were able to get to cover and push up towards the bunkers. Soon later, the Allies had taken the bunkers and artillery positions. The Allied attack was successful. D-Day played a massive part in the Allied war effort. That's because D-Day was the start of the invasion of Europe, and then, after a lot of fighting, the fall of Germany, defeating the most powerful Axis power.
Interesting. Thanks, Gavin. Anne Frank is famous for her amazing diary, and Evelyn is an expert about her. Go ahead, Evelyn.
Have you heard of Anne Frank? You most likely have. Anne Frank was a Jewish Dutch girl who lived in the 30s and 40s. Anne went into hiding for 2 years because people back then did not like Jewish people. If you don't know about her, don't worry. She's what you're going to learn about right now. Before she was 13, Anne lived a pretty normal life. She went to a lot of different schools. She had 30 classmates in the 8th grade. There were 13 girls, such as Jacqueline Van Marsen, and 17 boys, such as Maurice Coster. Her family was Otto Frank, her mother, Otto Frank, her father, Edith Frank, her mother, Margaret Frank, her sister, and their cat Mortje. Anne often got in trouble for talking in class, but a lot of teachers loved her. Then they received a call-up. A call-up was when people called to take Jewish people to a concentration camp. They assumed it was for Otto, but it was actually for Margaret. Since Otto wanted to keep his family safe, after they received the call-up, Anne and her family went into hiding. The people living with them were Mrs. Van Dan, Mr. Van Dan, Peter Van Dan, and Mr. Dussel. They also had 2 cats, not including poor Mortje, who had to get left behind. One of the cats went missing later, the other one was with them the whole time. Anne was going through rough emotions at that time. She hated all of them, other than Peter and her father. She was even having very bad arguments with her mother and Margaret. Peter was Anne's boyfriend. They hid for 2 years. Anne kept a diary the whole time. She also wrote stories. 2 years later, in August 1944, Anne and her family were caught and sent to a concentration camp. A concentration camp was where they sent Jewish people during the Holocaust. Anne's family was separated. Anne was forced to shave her head. Anne, Edith, and Margaret died. Otto survived. One of their family friends found Anne's diary. Anne's diary showed people what happened during the Holocaust, showed people just how horrible it was. He published it. People needed to know. Anne's hiding place is now a museum. It is called the Anne Frank House. In summary, Anne lived a normal life up until age 13 when she had to go into hiding. They were caught in 1944 and Anne, Edith, and Margaret died. If you didn't know about Anne Frank then, you certainly do now. Hopefully you didn't get sad hearing the last part. Anne was very good at writing. She was actually writing her diary to be published eventually. Maybe she died, but her words didn't die with her.
Thank you everyone for watching World War I, hurricanes, tsunamis, World War II, D-Day, Anne Frank, and Anne Frank. We are all very happy to tell you all about disasters.
Well, that concludes our report for today.
Thanks again for watching Channel Disasters.